say that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the Black Contractors Association. We're going to talk about Multicultural Contractors Association and why these group. Hi, this is Dee Sanford. Welcome to the Christian Business Forum. This evening, my very special guest is Abdur-Rahim Hameed. And that's a mouthful even for me. We're just going to call him Hameed because that's what he's known by in the Southeast community and all over San Diego. And now, as he's telling me, all over the nation, we're going to be hearing a lot from Brother Hameed. He is also here representing our dear friend Ricky Laster, Reverend Ricky Laster, the founder of the Multicultural Contractors Group. And Brother Hameed is the founder of the Black Contractors Association that you see right there on the corner of 61st and Imperial. Thank you so much for coming to be with me. I've been looking forward to being on camera with you again. Hameed, how you doing this evening?
Excellent. I'm doing excellent.
Good.
And it's really good to be here with you, and I want to commend you for the great work that you're doing.
Well, thank you.
You know, to give us the exposure and to share with San Diego and the world, you know, some of the great contributions that African Americans are making in San Diego.
Well, you know, I think it's important, and we have all kinds of people on the show, but I especially do have African Americans on the show because, as you know, we don't always have the venue to be able to get the kind of exposure that we need for our businesses and for our efforts, and great things are happening right in our community. So I'm honored to be able to be the vehicle that God is using for that. I wanted to have you and Ricky on, and I know that Ricky's over at the Jacobs Market Creek, I guess.
Yeah, he's taking care of business as he normally does.
Yes,
you know,
he does.
And so he asked me to come in his stay, and because we work together and we know each other, and we have the same work that we're doing, so it's a tag team thing. He's covering bases for me there, and I'm over here with representing his interests and ours as a people.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And you and Reverend Laster go way back, don't you?
Well, yeah, we grew up as you know, neighborhood buddies, or you know, he went to Baker's Elementary, and then we went to Lincoln High School together, and I've known him for over the years, and actually we have relatives that are related. Yes, I mean we have nephews that are cousins to each other.
Isn't that
so
something?
it is a very small world.
It's a small world. It really is. And so we see then that growing right up in San Diego, growing up right up in southeastern San Diego, great things have come out of southeastern San Diego. The reason I wanted you and Ricky here this evening, I'm so happy that you're here to represent, is we were starting to talk about what was happening over at Lincoln. But what's happening at Lincoln and the rebuilding of Lincoln and the fact that the Black Contractors Association and the Multicultural Contractors Group have been extremely instrumental, not only at Lincoln, but at many job sites throughout the city in ensuring that people of color had an opportunity to participate. Tell me how you got into this and why this is so important.
Well, you know, the origin of the Black Contractors Association in particular, and then our partnership, you know, which was a later development, started in 1982. This is during the Reaganomics era, where African Americans were disenfranchised from opportunities. Historically, we were the great builders of pyramids, and we had legacies as far as a people is concerned. And most African Americans cut their teeth on building churches and doing backyard remodels and home improvement. We were not involved in the major high-rise building industry. We weren't in the prevailing wage jobs and things of that nature. So the origin of the association in particular started when we saw ourselves being left out of the loop within the community, where black development was taking place. Banks who were affluent or basically had control over some of these developers basically started forcing African Americans out. So through this advocacy, and for BCA it's 24 years that we have begun to champion this cause, and we were blessed when Ricky and I came together and started what was called the Inner City Community Labor Pool, because we needed a pre-apprenticeship vehicle you know, to get them into the apprenticeship program. BCA began to champion the cause for getting an apprenticeship program because we realized that in order for us to get on prevailing wage projects, we had to be certified apprentices. And historically speaking, unions weren't giving us those opportunities. And so the only way that we could get those opportunities was to establish a state-approved program. That came along with the grant that funded us to build a 10,000 square foot state-of-the-art training facility. And
is that what the BCA
That's
is?
what the BCA has.
Okay, I remember,
you know.
that, okay.
Right, so we have a grant that someone donated land, and so we built our training facility. Reverend Laster, as a champion, took on some of the other issues with the small emerging contractors and began to start teaching them about business practices. And so that, in the relationship of apprenticeship with the Association of Contractors of the Black Contractors Association, began to create a great marriage. And so we have produced, qualified, and readied contractors. So when Lincoln knocked, or the doors of opportunity knocked with Lincoln High School, we had the contractors ready to step up to the plate and participate. It wasn't like they were given it was a self-help approach. And so great things have happened. Folks that are being disenfranchised and just coming out of the prison systems are making $35 an hour. You know, and there's some great things that we can share, and we're going to be proud over the fact that we built Lincoln, you know, as former students.
That is so exciting that you're participating in this. And when we saw the ads and the articles, I should say, in the newspaper, to be able to see people of color working on that community. Now, when we talk about people of color, who are we really talking about?
Well, when you speak of people of color, we've got Asians, African Americans, Latinos. We've got, and you know, you have to understand, we're in San Diego, we're in a border town, so we don't really have a real shortage in terms of Latino visibility in construction. One of the underserved communities has been the African Americans. You know, they are the ones that have been disenfranchised, and the stereotypes that says that Asians don't want to do construction, they're all computer geeks, is a farce. You know, there are many talented Asians. They built the railroad system that really are capable and physically able, you know, to do physical construction. But construction is a beautiful thing because it's one of the things that it's the only industry where a person doesn't have to have a high school diploma or a GED, which we encourage, and make $60,000 a year. You know, and if you look, Mama used to say, if you want to make some money, if you want to live good, marry a construction man, because there's the big boats out there and the four-wheel vehicles and things of that nature. But Lincoln was the catalyst for us to get involved in other projects. We're working with Soltech, you know, on the Wally Porter project. We're doing Meade Elementary with what's the name of it, C.E. Wiley. You know, and there's other things that we're involved with. We were involved in the ballpark project, the expansion of the convention center. You know, and so the aspirations of the black contractors and this leverage relationship that we have with the multicultural contractors group is a relationship that's going to bring African Americans and people of color into a greater economic prosperity.
And women too.
Women.
There are a lot of women in construction.
Oh, yes.
When I went on the internet, I saw that there's a young woman who is working with the what's the company that's building Lincoln? The Barnhart.
Barnhart, yes.
Doug Barnhart has a woman who is, I believe, a project manager. And
several women are involved. Matter of fact, the publication that was just recently produced called Rebuilding Lincoln at a Glance, we profiled an Asian female who was an engineer, technical engineer that was doing some of the underground pipe system. There's Pam Jefferson and Pam Johnson who are also in the office doing project management and working as part of the infrastructure. There are women out there with their sleeves rolled up, you know, right alongside of the men working, you know, and loving it, because it's a challenge to be able to say that, you know, that I as a female, I'm not limited and I can do what is considered physically challenging work. And so there's a lot of women in construction.
That is so exciting. You know, several years ago, Reverend Laster was on the show, and he talked about all of this construction that had been taking place in San Diego and the fact that African Americans and other people of color had not been able to fully participate in that. And even to the extent, Hameed, where the contracts had even had like a set aside
Sure.
where you had to have people of color and women participating, and some of the companies would actually approach you, put your name in the contract, and then when they got the contract, you never heard from them again.
Right. There were good fake efforts. You know, one of the things that affirmative action did was it set up a lot of false approaches in terms of opportunity. You know, we need affirmative action, and needed it because of the fact that there was great disparities between African American participation, and there was just blatant discrimination. And so when the City of San Diego's Equal Opportunities program was enjoined by a lawsuit led by the AGC, you know,
what is the AGC?
Associated General Contractors of America, who since then have grown tremendously, and they have changed a lot of way that they have been doing things. That basically, along with the Ward Conley's Proposition 209, these were avenues and vehicles that were used to create equal opportunity. The argument that we had proposed or had posed to the city is that there was, out of 100% of the work, African Americans were getting less than 0.1%.
Oh my goodness.
99% of the work was going to large white contractors. And so the argument is that we needed to create opportunities. Well, they said, well, go get trained, get bonding, you know, do all of these things. And then you get a phone call 2 days before bid time, and they said, we need you to bid the job. And they said, well, we contacted them. That was good fake efforts. But it was...
You're saying good fake.
Good fake efforts.
Not good faith.
Not good faith efforts.
Good fake.
But it was trailblazers like, you know, the Barnharts and the Soltex that followed, and then the Henselfelds and the Turners. These companies, Wiley, had basically said, you know, we can do this, and we like doing this because we like what Hameed and what Ricky's talking about, and it's not that someone is forcing us to do it, but we've created relationships where we're doing things successfully. And so if we're going to have a future in this country, we have to be able to understand that you have to train Americans to participate. I don't care I'm on a Christian show, so some of that construction language is going to come out.
Thank you.
So I don't care what it is that your ethnicity, but everybody has the same hunger. Everybody wants to do something, and with the increase of violence and some of the other negative things that are going in our society, we need alternatives to kids that aren't going to college, because there's 80% that don't go to college, 20% go, and 4% graduate. Well, that other 80% that don't go, they need an opportunity to get into construction and be a builder, be a contractor, be a developer, and maybe one day build your own home or build your own church.
Isn't that exciting? My grandfather, in fact, my great-grandfather built the church that my grandmother and mother and my family in Idabel, Oklahoma went to. And when I was a little girl, I found out about that, and I was so proud. And on your website, there is a statement there about when a black man builds a house. What a significant statement that is to the community. It goes so much farther than the conversation about what could happen if he did it.
Right, exactly.
And we don't realize how many African Americans have really participated. But the thing that strikes me in a town like San Diego is how lucrative the construction business really is. They're making grand theft dough.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, you look at the construction that took place with the convention center, you look at the high-rises, the condominiums downtown, and you tell me that we participated at a very small level in that construction. Well,
you know, it is. And, you know, the statement that you were referring to was a statement that Booker T. Washington had made. You know, the sight of a house, a first-class house that has been built is better than more pages of houses that we ought to build, is a very profound statement. And this is what, you know, Multicultural Contractors is doing. This is what the Black Contractors Association is doing. These are professional building trade association that helps an individual enhance his business. If you want to be successful, if you want to be prosperous, you have to be a part of a professional organization, soundboard, the best free advice that you're going to get, you know, for a little membership, a little bit of association and fellowship to prosper and grow in your business. And that's one of the things that we're proud to say, that we look back and we see some of the contractors that have been affiliated where they were and where they are today.
Oh, yes.
And that's the difference.
Reverend Laster told me about some of the men who own different companies who had just barely been able to make it,
exactly.
were able to come through the program, begin to get the kind of contracts that
sure.
made such a significant difference in their income and for the security for their family and their children's children.
Right, right.
Yeah, the Bible talks about leaving an inheritance for your children and your children's children.
Wow.
And now through construction and other things that we were